Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel, Fig Rick Creation. If you're watching the um, Fig Fed news, then this would be kind of a spoiler because it's been changed. Things have changed on it. I decided to do a couple smaller brands, 20 guys each. So here's the ECW roster. Now you won't see this roster happening until after the July 2nd show, actually July 9th technically, as I've made videos up until that point anyway. So here is the ultimate ECW. Now this is not your ECW only originals. This is just who I drafted randomly out of a drawing for this. So we're going to start with the first one, Mike Knox Ultimate. Now I'm not going to show the formulas or like that on here. I have a whole different segment where I do that. But here's Mike Knox. Obviously I got to hit him with a little bit more Mod Podge because it's starting to chip a little bit. Great one there. Now this next one here, shout out to the person who did the customs for me. At the time I was very scared to try to do customs myself. I've gotten better at them, and I've actually, I think, I wouldn't say surpassed this person, just definitely have gotten more confident to be able to do my own. But at the time, this person, top notch, really made sure the placement was good. And that's Tyson Tomko Ultimate. Decals, of course, from Curb Stomp. The head was from the Jax line of Tyson Tomko. The arms are double jointed. I forget exactly what it was. I remember just added some hands. I love about the removable hands and the arms and such. Super simple to find parts for these. I feel like these are easier to customize than Elites. I've always been good at taking these apart carefully. Elites, not so much. And if I'm going to build an entire roster of just try to uniform everybody into one, might as well go for the top, and that's the Ultimate. Yeah, they're not as many bodies. Yeah, they're more expensive. But I love the butterfly joints. I just love the overall look better in the Ultimate. I don't care for the drop-down hips, as many of you know who watch this channel. But check out that. So Tyson Tomko makes the cut on that one. These two right here, not too hard to do actually. You just need a Muhammad Ali torso, and then basically it's got to throw on their jerseys. You can throw on their tattoos. Now obviously there's missing some tats on Montez Ford here. He's got some tats missing obviously on his inside, but since he's wearing jersey you can't see him anyway. There's Angelo, of course. These two are probably up for a update here in the future, upgrade. With Mattel, and then I can probably go from there on that. Next one here is actually on Macari, because even though it's decent, I didn't build this one. I found this one on eBay back when I was just buying them only strictly off eBay and Macari, and then I decided to do my own because I realized it was going to be very expensive. Moose. So there's Moose. I believe Curb Stomp was the decals for this as well. Again, I didn't build that one, so I'm not taking any credit on that one. Looks good. Because I've seen the new one coming out with Power Town, I'm okay with letting that one go. Next one, though, very happy with this one, and that would be from 3XR, one of the very first one I had him build for me. Currently, my Buff Bagwell is on the way, and he's also building me a Braun Strowman after I found him Yokozuna here in the States and basically offered it to him and the parts to build the Braun Strowman. He was willing to do it for almost free. But this one right here, very happy with. Ultimate Sean O'Hare. And he used decals, obviously, on this one. I mean, I do him at the spiderweb. I think it's supposed to be more to the back and just kind of like a side portion of a spiderweb, but I'm not going to complain about it. It looks great anyway. Flames look good. I, of course, Mod Podged over everything because he doesn't do that, and that's perfectly fine. I'll do that. It does look like he added in his own paint to kind of fill in and give that little bit of that kick pad. You bring down the kick pads a little bit, which it works because sometimes he had kick pads all the way down, sometimes he didn't. So Sean O'Hare gets picked into the ECW roster. Next up, I built this one myself. Didn't go too much into detail with it. I literally just kind of painted over. I probably should have acetone instead of using white paint because white paint just doesn't do very well as black paint. But Aria Davari. I just wanted to upgrade Aria Davari. I was going to go with trunks and get the decals, and I still may do that. But for now, this is just kind of his look that he had. He had, of course, had a gold chain, which keeps falling off. It was a Jeff Hardy torso. You can still see a little bit of paint right there. So again, while I'm not the biggest fan of this one, it'll do for now until I decide to hit it back again and change it up a little bit more. Next one, not super difficult to do. Just needed a proper torso. I think it was a Ric Flair, worked perfectly for it. Yeah, he's a little bit more jacked, I think, than normal, but Adam Rose. So you got Adam Rose Ultimate. These are all Ultimate, of course. Like I said, I do Ultimate only. Other people out there do Elites. That's perfectly fine. I just decided to go with Ultimates. Another Ric Flair torso, Damien Sandow. So, and I'm not going to try to make this video super long. Again, I don't have a rotating base or anything like that. I was supposed to get one, but every time I try to order one, Amazon keeps saying they're sold out or they keep canceling the order for some reason. Next one, originally I made him really a little more darker. I had to end up buying the darker version of his skin tone head. Then I realized that the Muhammad Ali works perfectly for it. So, Farouk. And I'm okay with the Acolyte tire. I would upgrade it if it did come with the APA with the cards. I thought that was a really cool looking attire, but this works for now. Obviously, I don't add the Acolyte symbols and whatnot because they got rid of that. Next one, I didn't build this one, but I've seen it on eBay a couple times. Matt Riddle. It's Matt Riddle. From what I can tell, it looks like it's an Austin torso. They painted on the mushroom tattoo, so you can get the decal if you need to. This person had painted on there. Again, I don't take credit for this one. I didn't build this one, but he's no longer with the company. I don't see him coming back anytime soon. This one I've seen around, and I messed with it. A lot of people have messed with it. It's super simple. The only thing we wish probably we could do is take and lower the legs, but because there is no, they're built into it, you'd have to take this whole portion off and then get other legs, which you could. Warrior legs would work perfectly, but you'd lose all the other stuff. You'd keep Freakzilla, but until they make a Scott Steiner WCW version, which if they do, I'll just easily convert that one, and this one will be pretty much on the chopping block. Use the Scott Steiner arms, Warrior torso. It's Scott Steiner. It works. It's just a little too tall. All right, now getting into the fully customized ones. Now, this one actually is not quite done. I need to add his tattoo on the top and his other tattoo, but I built Ultimate Rick Steiner. So it's going to say "Bite Me" on the back. That's what he wore in that time. It's his WCW look. Again, you see the tattoo needs to be fixed up there and needs to be applied there. Tattoos are on their way from Curb Stomp. So if you can't tell, I used Jim the Anvil Neidhart. I didn't actually tear this one apart either. All I did was paint the pink crotch piece, paint over the pink heart, and then swap the legs. So he does have drop down hips, unfortunately, but super simple. In fact, it's so simple. I'm using this whole setup again, minus the boots and whatnot. I'm going to turn it into a Hugh Morris. I'm going to add the decals. I've got the head on the way. I'll put the question marks on the back, and I'm going to have myself a Hugh Morris figure from the WCW days. Next one up is Hardcore Holly, and this one I went through multiple versions of. At first I tried a standard Austin torso. He wasn't buff enough. I tried something else. His legs were too tall. And finally I figured out the formula for it. Now, the lower half was actually custom already built by somebody else. I just took apart the Elite version, stuck on a much more ripped torso because he actually was jacked at times. Put on some white boots. The head is from Jack, so I do have a painted head from, like, I don't know if it's Tom Veg or whoever it is, but it doesn't look like Hardcore Holly to me, and it doesn't match the skin tone at all. So this actually works really well. This is one of the ones I kind of had a little bit of a casualty from using too much acetone when I first learned how to do it. So he had some burn marks. So I was able to get some proper paint and kind of paint that back in there. So it's not super noticeable. That's the good thing about it. Next one I was excited for because this is a guy who we've only had a figure of in Jack's days back in the past of Titantron Live, and it's because of a weird mechanism. It only did this. Who am I talking about? Crash Holly. So originally I was going to have Crash in the King of the Ring looking attire. Still may end up having that happen. This one, of course, they painted the head, they colored the hair. It was a Jack's head, but they obviously they painted over, make more bleach, blonde guy who we may never get another figure of. But he was a European, I think, champion, definitely hardcore, Houdini of hardcore, tag champion. So he belongs there. He was in the Attitude Era. He was popular. It was fun to watch. So he links perfectly with Hardcore Holly. Now, one of the most expensive conversions. I've already shown these ones. I've already talked about it. Kerry Von Erich and Kevin Von Erich Ultimates. Some people have done this in yellow. I didn't do it in yellow because it looked too much like Shane Douglas attire. And I have a Shane Douglas still on the way. In fact, the figure should be done here shortly from Mike Ruff. But Cujo painted the head. I built the formula for the body. And I built my very own David Von Erich. I made sure he's a little taller than his brothers. He was the tallest one. He was kind of lanky built. The head, paint job from Cujo, great job there. It was a Ric Flair trunks. I switched out the legs with a little bit longer legs. Stone Cold Steve Austin boots, give him that star, that Texas star kind of thing. Color scheme wasn't, I didn't try to match him up. When I just kind of went with a picture I saw on Google where he had like bluish knee pads, and I thought this is perfect. From the 80s, they didn't really wear wristbands, they didn't wear wrist tape, didn't wear a lot of accessories. So if you're trying to really customize older guys, pretty simple: trunks, boots, and knee pads. So this next one, though, very proud of this one because this one, besides the Cujo painting the head to match the skin tone, I put this formula together. I used a Bobby Lashley Ultimate Torso, Bobby Lashley arms, Bobby Lashley lower legs as well, added in Bradshaw kick pads, and then added in curb stomp decals for a Marcus Cor Von Ultimate. And I even, I saw photos where he had like red, kind of like underneath the regular knee or the elbow pad. So I had those. I forget who came with those exactly, but I've used those a few times because they work so well. I'm trying to think who comes with those because it was so unique to see that, and it works so well. I'm probably gonna use those for Elijah Burke as well. I'm probably gonna end up painting red around the black before I do the Elijah Burke as well because I'm gonna try to go for his ECW look. But there's Cor Von. I've built Kevin. I've already built Kevin Thorne. I've already got Matt Stryker, kind of for the most part. It's not exact attire, but it works for him. And then number 20 for this brand, which this one, because of Dustin Young, actually ended up getting blocked because he said basically this one was trash. He was like, this one's garbage. Most of your stuff's garbage. I didn't paint the heads. I think the people who paint these do a good job. I can see there's a little bit of skin difference in them from far, up close, but far away you can't tell. It's not quite done yet. I did get some decals from somebody, but then Curb Stomp surprised me with the decals I really wanted for this figure. So shout out to him, of course, for doing that. And so now, when they arrive, I can finally build the Wildman Mark Marrow. And you're probably thinking, well, he's really tan. Mark Marrow was really tan in real life. I have some, I used some reference photos. When the Ultimate Warrior body came out, I was like, man, that's just, who's going to use that thing? There's hardly anybody I can think of. And while I was thumbing through, Attitude Era guys and New Gen guys in the 96 era, and I really wanted I really wanted a Wild Man. And I thought, he's pretty tan compared to Austin. So, yeah, and he was tan in WCW as well as Johnny B. Bad. So I painted the Warrior tassels on there. He's got the Macho Man boots with the fringe attached to it. Standard knee pads, which is perfectly fine to add the decals. Once the decals are added, you can't, this is literally Wild Man Mark Marrow. And the head, he did a great job matching up the skin tone, the best of his abilities. Again, from far away, you can't really tell. Up close, you can probably tell. But far away, you can't really tell, and that's all that matters. Are these all 100% perfect? No. Are we ever going to see a macho or a Wild Man Mark Merrill? Probably not. He's not exactly in the best graces with anybody in the wrestling world, especially after the Benoit incident. So that's the 20 guys right there for that ECW roster. So if you're following that brand, who knows who's going to become world champions? Who knows what happens in a year? Who gets drafted out? Who stays in another year? Who gets fired? You'll find out. Stay tuned. And thanks for watching if you do watch.